the environment so that they can breathe clean air, they can walk outside and not have to worry about wearing a mask like they do in China. And I think we need to start taking action on this now. It's a serious issue. We've seen report after report that global warming is starting to have disastrous effects in the Arctic, in the North Pole, and that eventually it's going to trickle down here. And we're already seeing the effects of that with increased strength of hurricanes, with droughts, and it's time for action. It's time for some serious environmental legislation to be passed that reverses the disastrous effects of the past few years, which have rolled back, as I said, decades worth of environmental regulations.
Thank you, Mr. Pavich. Mr. Weller, you have 1 minute for a rebuttal.
Well, global warming, there's something happening out there. Temperatures are going up. We need a global solution. Some have suggested the United States should go alone. I disagree. We need a global solution that involves China, Mexico, India. Why should they pollute, continue to have polluting industries, but not the United States? Because you know where the jobs will go if we allow that. Second is the energy bill is moving in the right direction. Remember, when you use ethanol, you reduce carbon dioxide emissions. The alternative energy, wind energy, as well as solar that we promote in the energy bill, is causing hundreds of millions of dollars investment in clean power. Locally, I was always brought up to say, and taught that when you talk about the environment, you think globally, but you act locally. We've been working over the last several years to complete the cleanup of the old radium that's here in the Ottawa community from the old clock factory. There's still some sites that are underway. As you know, we just announced recently $2 million to be spent in the next few weeks to clean up sites near the Ottawa Marquette athletic field, as well as the Allenite Power property just a couple blocks from here. And then there'll be additional, probably about $50 million over the next 10 years to finish.
Mr. Weller, your time is up. Mr. Pavich, you have 1 minute for a response.
Well, Mr. Weller, the reason that the United States of America should take the lead when it comes to slowing the effects of global warming is because we're the greatest, most powerful nation on the face of the earth. And as such, we have a responsibility and the opportunity and the ability to lead the world in this very serious area. If countries around the world see the United States standing up and taking the lead on this issue, other countries will follow. And it's almost a certainty that the countries around the world are ready for action. They're ready for the United States of America as one of the world's leading polluters to take the lead. And it is time for our representatives in Washington, D.C. to recognize that fact and to help us, because goodness knows we owe this to future generations, and shame on us if we don't solve this problem.
Okay, Mr. Pavich, thank you. That will conclude the question portion of our debate. We are now going to have closing statements. Mr. Pavich, you went second in the opening statements, so you'll be going first during our closing statements. You now have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Stephanie. There are many reasons why someone decides to run for public office, and I do believe that anyone who decides to be a candidate does so with the best of intentions. I believe that my opponent started his career hoping to help the working families in this district, but I know that despite his best intentions, my opponent has become the career politician that he first ran against 12 years ago as a member of the Contract with America class. The Republican Party's brand of partisan politics today is harming our country, and I'm running for Congress to bring change to the way Congress works in Washington, D.C. There's not much point in talking about Mr. Weller's negative campaign against me, or the ineffective Congress, or the Congress continuing to make votes against the working families of our district. Instead, I want to take just a moment to talk about the people who I'm running to represent and the reason that I got into this race in the first place. 5 years ago, my wife Kelly and I lost a college friend at the World Trade Center. I joined the CIA to make sure that those who took her from us would never harm another American. She was a good person who never harmed anyone in her life, and I wanted to try to honor her with some of my work. This Congress, however, has let us down by failing to implement the recommendations of the 9/11 Commission. These suggestions are common sense, practical suggestions that will make our country safer. And when I'm in Congress, I'm going to do all that I can to make sure they're acted upon. I'm also running for Congress for people like my brother's friend, John. John is a Marine who earned 2 Purple Hearts in Afghanistan. Most people would think they'd done their job, but John felt he had more to give. He was shot 2 weeks ago in Iraq by a sniper. He's going to need the best care possible to recover. But this Congress has voted to slash funding to our military and to the VA that will care for John. When I'm in Congress, I plan to fight to restore funding to the VA and to give troops the materials they need to finish the job. I'm going to visit them because if you vote to send troops into battle, the least you should do is to see things as they see them. And finally, I'm running for Congress for my son Andrew and his generation. Mr. Weller and his party have cut funding for student aid and allowed corporations to pollute our environment. They want to radically alter Social Security, and they're helping to send our jobs overseas. I believe we owe future generations what all of us were given, a country of which we can be proud, and a community that will always protect them. And that's why I will fight to give them the tools they need to succeed, but also the tools to help them when they face difficult times. We owe them this much. We face tough questions in this election. I believe that Mr. Weller and his party don't have the answers and they don't see the problems. We need a new direction in this country, so the choice becomes this: business as usual in Washington, D.C., or a new direction for America. If you're satisfied with politics as usual, then my opponent is your candidate. I'm running to help bring a new direction, and if you agree with me that one is needed, I ask for your support. Mr. Weller himself once said that a fresh infusion of new blood into Congress is a good thing. With that, I couldn't agree more.
Mr. Pavich, thank you. Mr. Weller, you will have the final 3 minutes of our debate. You can start whenever you are ready.
Again, thank you for this opportunity. There's two issues I wish we would have discussed in greater detail. In fact, the two issues where we differ the most. On the Ways and Means Committee, I fought to lower taxes for all taxpayers, to help small business create jobs. I led the fight to eliminate the marriage tax penalty, supported the child tax credit, and lower tax rates. In fact, a family of four making $50,000 a year can now keep $2,000 more in higher take-home pay because of lower taxes. My opponent, Mr. Pavich, told the Project Vote Smart questionnaire that he would lead the charge to roll back and repeal these tax cuts to, quote, restoring a vital revenue stream. Think about it. If your family earns $50,000 a year, John Pavich wants to raise your taxes by $2,000 a year. These tax cuts expire soon. I will work to make them permanent. The other issue is illegal immigration. Our first priority must be border security, and I oppose amnesty for illegals. I've worked to add more Border Patrol on our borders from 5,000 to 14,000 agents, to build a fence to stop illegal border crossings, prevent illegals from obtaining driver's licenses, and put a stop to catch and release and replace it with catch and return. That's why I voted for the House Border Security Bill. My opponent, Mr. Pavich, told the Chicago Tribune last week that he would have voted no on the House Border Security Bill. Instead, he endorsed comprehensive immigration reform in the Senate amnesty bill. Here's what comprehensive immigration reform means. It means amnesty for illegals. Even more significant is that he supports giving Social Security to illegal aliens. I oppose amnesty for illegals. I oppose Social Security for illegals. John Pavich told the Chicago Tribune he would vote for amnesty for illegals, and John Pavich promised he would vote for Social Security for illegals. The biggest issues in this campaign are taxes and illegal immigration, and we stand on opposite sides. I fought hard to lower taxes, create jobs, energy independence, and for our veterans. I will vote to make the tax cuts permanent. Remember, if they expire, your taxes go up. I will continue to work to replace imported oil with homegrown biofuels like ethanol and biodiesel. Remember, my legislation increasing the use of biofuels to 25 billion gallons by 2025 eliminates Saudi Arabia as a supplier. That's good for America, creates jobs in LaSalle County. I will continue to work to strengthen our border security as well as steer resources to local police and fire. Our nation is not secure unless our borders are secure. I will continue to honor our veterans. My legislation created the Abraham Lincoln National Cemetery and delivered the LaSalle Veterans Outpatient Clinic. Now we need to finish the job in the additional 80 beds at the LaSalle Veterans Home. It's been an honor to represent LaSalle County in Congress. I've worked hard and made a difference here at home as well as in our nation's capital. Again, thank you for this opportunity, and I ask you again for your support. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Congressman Weller. And this concludes the debate between the candidates for the Illinois 11th Congressional District. Our special thanks to Democratic candidate John Pavich and, of course, Republican incumbent Jerry Weller. And thank you to WCMY News Director Rick Koshko and Jonathan Billick of the Times newspaper. I'm Stephanie Pulowski. This has been a special public affairs presentation of WCMY Radio.